Okay guys, we're in the EV6 GT now, and if you haven't seen the full video, make sure to check that out. But we're gonna go on a drive of this thing. I'm gonna do a quick tour outside for everyone that did not get to see that video. And here's the EV6 GT. It's in this really cool color called Runway Red, and it's epic. We have 21-inch wheels. We're running winter tires now, 15-inch rotors up front. I think they're a little over 14 inches out back. Normally this would come with a pretty aggressive summer tire, but it does not have that now. Love the design of these cars. They look absolutely epic. And as we just saw inside, I'll show you in a second, we have this really cool bucket seats. Love the lime green calipers too. It's a really cool highlight. For a charging port back here, which is a power door, really nice and easy to use, and the super aggressive design of the EV6 GT. Love it. Kia is killing it right now, and that's only part of this car's experience. The whole real part of it is the driving experience. Hopping inside, like I told you guys before, these really awesome seats right here, really aggressive bolsterings, this kind of micro suede material in it. But let's hop in and take it for a drive, because that's the whole point of this thing. So guys, we have multiple drive modes here. So we have Eco, Normal, and Sport, and each one is actually going to give you a different power range from like 288 to like 388 to 488, and you get that full power when you go into GT mode, which unlocks the 576 horsepower. Now, if you want to go into drift mode, you actually have to be in park right now, turn off traction control even further, and then you have to hold these two paddles right here until you activate drift mode, and it should come up. There you go, drift mode's activated. So that's just one steps to get into that. And that actually just puts all the power to that rear motor, and you can spin around in circles as many times as you want. Otherwise, GT mode is pretty fun. It allows you to have both those motors active and unlocking all that power. So popping into drive, we have this selector right here, drive, neutral, reverse, really clear reversing cameras as well. I love this 360-degree view. But we'll pop into drive, put it in eco mode to start out, and we'll see how it goes through these different levels. And now you have multiple different versions of the active sound design that you can also change throughout the EV6. And I like this one. I think this one's called Cyber. It's the calmest setting. The other ones are a little too loud and noisy, but it's my favorite sound for the driving experience. We'll cycle through those in a second. We also notice there's some ambient lighting on the interior, and those will change with the drive modes, or you can change them manually in the settings as well to a whole bunch of different colors. You can even select your own color, which is fantastic. And what is it like to drive the EV6 GT? So unlike the other EV6s, the GT has adaptive dampers, and they will stiffen up in the sportier modes, and they will be nice and soft and cushy as they are in this eco mode. And I wouldn't say super soft and cushy. It's still very more of an aggressive vehicle than a regular EV6, but it's nowhere near as tight as you're going to get in the sport and GT modes. Now, Kia did a great job with this GT, and it's not just extra power. They did a lot of stuff under the hood to make sure that this thing can really perform well. So we have a much more powerful front motor, and we have an even more powerful rear motor to kind of allow for that rear-wheel drive capability back there. And in eco mode, it normally operates in rear-wheel drive mode, and it will send some power to the front if you need it, but that's mainly due to efficiency. Popping it into normal, you get a little bit more power, and then sport, more power. And of course, we have GT mode, where it kind of unlocks the full shebang. So you're also getting, on top of this, a more tightly tuned suspension setup with those adaptive dampers. You have the more aggressive tires, you have the bigger wheels, bigger brakes, and Kia also did a lot of stuff under the hood to kind of make sure the battery is capable of handling this quicker draining of the energy. So one little thing that they're not going to really tell you though is that really only above 70% you're going to have that full power. Under that 70%, it's going to reduce the power a little bit, even in GT mode. Remember, this still is the 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack that all the EV6s have. And I'm not sure if they might be stressing it a little bit too much by pumping out the power numbers as high, but it's kind of seeming like that by them only limiting that power to above 70% state of charge. Now, range is an issue. I will have to say, max is like 206 miles, and it's cold out right now. We're using the heat and driving a little aggressively, so you're going to reduce range a little bit. But that 800-volt architecture does allow for some really fast charging times. But the handling of the EV6 GT is its major highlight right here. We put it into GT mode, which has its own kind of traction system, which you can further reduce by pressing the button. And as you can see with this power, it just loves to go fast. And out back we have an e-LSD, so it's able to kind of shift that power around in the rear motor to either side of the car to really help you carve through corners. And it's just a fantastic driving experience. You definitely do feel the weight. It weighs around 4,800 pounds, but I think they've done a good job managing the weight and kind of using it to its full potential by keeping that center of gravity really low and managing it with the e-LSD. They're really able to kind of like pull you through that corner and keep you planted at the same time. So I really do have to applaud them for these driving dynamics on this. Yeah, I just don't want to give this car back. It's just so much fun. And with the braking system, the brakes themselves are actually really fantastic, but I never really use them because you have so many different modes of regenerative braking. One downside of this car is that everything will slide around all over the place if you have things in the back seats. But thankfully these sport bucket seats will keep you in place when you're going around corners. Again, just really quickly, we have 3 main regenerative braking settings that you can access with these paddle shifters on the steering wheel, which are fantastic. Just turn signals on by accident, but and those are really great because you can kind of adjust the paddle shifting, or you can adjust the regenerative braking with the paddle shifters and to kind of get it to your liking. So right now it's in auto mode, and if I want it to come to a full stop, I can actually just pull this paddle even further down and it will come to a stop without even using the brakes, which is fantastic. But if I hold the 2 paddles down, it takes a little bit of time, it should turn back into a regular form of the regenerative braking, where you can choose through level 1, 2, and 3. And of course you have your 1 pedal drive mode, which they call iPedal, and that allows you to obviously not even use the brake ever. If you time all your stops right, you can just come to a full stop, and you honestly will never miss the brake pedal unless you really need it. It's always there for you in the background, which is fantastic. You can definitely see in GT mode, the car definitely stiffens up a lot more than in eco mode. You definitely have more play on the steering in eco mode. And I actually just discovered that you have a My Drive mode setting, which you go into settings right here, and you can really customize this down to your liking, from the motor settings to the steering settings to the suspension. And you can adjust the different levels of the e-LSD along with traction control as well in this My Mode setting. So you can really make it to your liking, which I think is fantastic. I love the customizability that Kia is offering you guys in the EV6 GT. And we have to talk about road quality as well, right? So it's really quiet in here. It's a very, very windy day outside, as you may hear some wind outside, but generally on the highway at higher speeds, it's super silent in here. And I think they've done a really good job at canceling out a lot of road noise. Compared to like a Model 3 or a Model Y, you might actually hear a little bit of a wind whistle in those cars versus this, even maybe in a Mach-E or something. And that's one of like the main competitors of this car is the Mach-E GT, and this is going to give you a lot more bang for your buck versus that car. Maybe a little bit less range, but the power is definitely something that you could love, as well as a lot of the chassis tuning that they've done to this more dedicated and tuned EV architecture. So I think we're going to give you guys a little bit of a launch right here. Turning radius could be better, but we do have front motors up there, so that could be hampering it a little bit. Ready for a launch? Okay, there's no particular launch mode. You kind of just floor it. Oh wow. And you're already doing illegal speeds. So this thing is super quick, and the fun thing about GT mode is when you unlock that full power, is that power is always there. So we just did a launch, we're around like 60 miles an hour, and you can still floor it, and you still have that acceleration, and it keeps pulling and pulling and pulling for a long time. And a lot of other EVs actually kind of fall off in their power curves as you go higher in speeds. I believe the top speed they quote on this one is like 161 miles an hour, which we're not going to test that right now, but I believe it. I really do believe it. And it keeps pulling and pulling at these higher speeds. So I think that's where they kind of tuned this whole system to be giving you that power accessible at a lot of different levels of speed as well, which is awesome. And we can't not scope over the driver safety systems that Hyundai and Kia are doing, including Genesis as well. They are some of the best systems on the entire planet. I do love my Volvo system. It's actually super simple to activate and use, but I think this is even better actually. So your whole left side of the steering wheel right here is where you can access those systems. You literally just turn it on, pop into your auto steering, and it really truly does steer you around everything, and it holds it on for a really long time. Some systems have like a touch-based system that it'll know if your hands are there. This one's a little bit more, I think, force, but it works so well. It's one of the most impressive steering well, I guess it's called lane keep assist systems on the market. And I would love this as a road tripper. I'd be really more interested to see the regular versions of the EV6 GT or EV6 and how they can do with efficiency on like highways. This isn't the most efficient vehicle because it has that extra power. But if you are someone that loves using cruise control, a Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis product will be one of your go-to options because it's just a fantastic system to use. And sure, we have all of that power, but I have to say, it is truly a gimmick at the end of the day. It's fun to use and show your friends around with acceleration, but I think the real charm of the EV6 GT is its handling characteristics. It genuinely does drive well, and I think that's one of the things that makes this car unique in this segment. Sure, the Model Y performance is also probably really fun as well, and you're probably gonna get more range out of that, but I don't even know if it drives as good as this thing. This is a really, really good handling vehicle, and that e-LSD out back really does its job well to help push you around a corner. And I did promise you guys that we'll cycle through the driver sounds, so let's go do that right now. So right now we're in this sound called Active Sound Design. It's called Cyber Mode, and we've been listening to that this whole time. Of course, you can turn these completely off as well. Let's hear Dynamic right now. Definitely a unique sound experience, a little deeper. We have Stylish, a little bit of like a brighter tone going to it. And then you can actually customize your own sound in here. Someone did customize it, I'm assuming, because there's making a sound right there. But you can go into settings and change all these parameters to make your own driving sound, which is insane. So they do offer you a lot of customizability with that. And of course, you can turn it completely off and just listen to wind and the tires. But even that's muted because it's so quiet and well damped in here with the sound. And let's say you do need to go charge. You can use the built-in navigation system, and you can put an EV charger in here, and in that way it'll know sometimes if the battery's not warm enough. It can kind of preheat and condition the battery to warm it up for a nice fast charging session. So but if you do want that, you're going to have to use one of the built-in navigation system versus something through Apple CarPlay. And I'm not sure if you guys can tell on camera, but we do have this fantastic heads-up display up here. You can have it in regular mode or in augmented reality mode. In that mode, it'll kind of give you those arrows pointing you in different directions. And even in adaptive cruise control mode, it'll kind of like highlight the car in front of you, which is a really cool thing. And it'll kind of like moderate that distance around it. I'm not sure what these people are doing in front of us, but they are holding up traffic. I think they're gonna let us go. Thank you. So yeah, guys, this is the EV6 GT, and for around $62,000 is what we have it here right now. It's a good car. It's a really good car. They did a great job with this eGMP architecture, and if you're in this niche market for a high performance EV, I think this is a great option to look at. And even if you don't want this extra power, a regular EV6 GT line, you get the same looks as this with a decent amount of power too. It's almost 400 horsepower, and you're gonna bump that range up by like 100 miles as well. So you're really not missing out too much unless you really need this tighter handling, better performing vehicle. And of course, the drift mode, we cannot forget about drift mode as well. That does come as a standard feature on the GT. So yeah, guys, I really appreciate you all for joining me on this video once again, and stay tuned for a lot more stuff coming from Allcarnews. And let me know what you guys think about the EV6 GT down in the comments section below. Cheers.